Hello, I'm James McKinney, the creator and host of the Startup Story podcast and founder of the hottest new entrepreneurial coffee subscription, Grindology. It's a new year full of new opportunities, and maybe for you, one of those opportunities is launching a new brand. If that is you, then you're going to love this video as we hear proven tactics to acquire your first 100 customers. Every week, I sit with a successful founder to unpack their entrepreneurial journey that led them to build the incredible businesses and brands that they have. With over 100 episodes and almost 100,000 listeners across the UK, Australia, and the United States, we have been fortunate to have some of the most amazing founders join the show. And just recently, I had the chance to speak with David Rodger, co-founder and CEO of Felix Gray. Felix Gray is a pioneer in the eyewear industry and has reinvented computer glasses to be both beautiful and effective. Felix Gray is designed to combat digital eye strain and help reduce eye fatigue, headaches, and blurred vision, allowing people like you and I to work more comfortably and productively in front of a screen all day. Felix Gray launched in 2016, making high-quality lenses embedded with a proprietary blue light filtering technology and have since serviced over 200,000 customers. While 200,000 customers sounds impressive, we have to remember that just like every other startup, they had to figure out how to get their first 100 customers. Their initial outreach was incredible because they went guerrilla style on it and got face-to-face with potential customers offering free trials. Their customers were people who spend considerable amount of time in front of screens, so they went to the offices of Airbnb, Uber, and Google to have people try their product. The feedback was tremendous, and that was their key to their launch strategy. Now, after 200,000 customers, I asked David what he might do differently in 2021, and I asked him this question for you, the day one startup. Now, before we jump into this segment, I highly suggest that you watch to the very end of the video, as I have a special offer to have your business highlighted in an upcoming episode of The Startup Story. Now let's hear direct from David Rodger, co-founder and CEO of Felix Gray, on how he would push to acquire his first 100 customers if he was starting today.
I think I still would want to be as close to the customer as possible and do something like that. I think, there's a great story around Airbnb early on and them doing things. They were sitting at their desk trying to figure out like scaling strategies, and the founder of Y Combinator, Paul Graham, kind of like, what are you guys doing here? Like, go to New York where your customers are and like go do this. And like, well, that doesn't scale. And he's like, don't worry about scale right now. Do things that don't scale. Just like learn right now, right? Like learn from your customer. So I think we still would have done that. Once we kind of launched and were announced, and clearly there are a lot of people who are purchasing this product, and we're seeing a lot of success. Chris and I then said, okay, well, now how do we make this scale? We have a product that people like, that people are talking about. How are we building the marketing machine? And so that meant really leveraging the Accelerate's resources to learn marketing for the first time. So that's, your Facebooks and Instagrams, which especially back in 2016 were really cheap, but it also meant investing into SEO really early, which was, has paid dividends. And it was just continuing to find ways of growing, and then, saying, okay, 5 months in, all right, great. How do we leverage podcasts, and how do we, grow that? Or, how do we grow through YouTube? Or, how are we doing X, Y, and Z? But I think at the core of everything was the fact that we were building a product that people talked about and people enjoyed, right? Especially whether it's now during the pandemic or as when you were at the office. A lot of these people were not wearing glasses before they started wearing Felix Gray. So people would say, what glasses are you wearing? I didn't know you wore glasses. And so there's a little bit of this virality in the product. Yeah. And because we focus so much on the customer experience end to end, from the product that they got, but all the way from like how the product ships, the packaging it's in, like, does it get there on time? All these things, people were excited to talk about their purchase. So we built a lot of evangelists, and, word of mouth is still our largest source of referrals out of any single channel. Mm-hmm. I think that speaks volumes to what we've been able to build. And I don't think you can build a sustainable company if that's not going to be something that's really going to drive a lot of that revenue. really the best way is how did you hear about us surveys. So at the end of like, if anyone does not have a post-purchase immediate survey that hits you at that checkout, like implement it tomorrow. And one of the first things that you should do, just say, how did you hear about us? And so, you're going to get, friend, family referral type thing. You also get Facebook, you'll get YouTube ad, you'll get, the influencer, and then you can actually dive in and understand what influencer or what YouTube ad or things like that. That stuff is incredibly helpful data for us to measure attribution. We measured obviously from like a Google Analytics standpoint as well. But then this is another way of triangulating that data, because attribution is really hard. So the more data sources you have to kind of balance things out and triangulate, the better off you're going to be in understanding what's working.
I hope you found this content helpful. And if you did, then please make sure to subscribe to the Startup Story podcast on your podcast platform of choice so you can hear David's episode in its entirety. With over 100 founder interviews to choose from, I am confident you will find many that will be helpful to your entrepreneurial journey. I mentioned earlier that I have a special offer for you to promote your business or brand within the Startup Story podcast. And this offer requires nothing from you except your time. You see, in every episode of Startup Story, I read a listener review from Apple Podcasts. And if you visit the Startup Story show page within Apple Podcasts and leave a written review, I will read it in an upcoming episode. And here's the best part. If you insert your URL, social media accounts, or company name within that review, then when I read your review in an episode of the Startup Story, your brand or URL will be inserted into the Startup Story and live on for years to come. It's basically a free advertisement for your business or brand within the Startup Story. I hope you will subscribe to the show as well as follow us on all the many social media platforms. I say it in every single episode because I believe it. Entrepreneurs support other entrepreneurs, and we're here to support you.